Go ahead and mute yourself, dude.
Welcome back to the warm-up. We are live right now. We got breaking news. Trae Young has been traded to the Washington Wizards. And interesting deal. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good. I saw the news and then I immediately was like, yep, I'm getting on. So here we are. Let's go ahead and let me get this up on Twitter and let them know that we are here. Okay, so we're live on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So anyone who's watching can watch from those 3 platforms. Excited for you guys to join us tonight. Okay, I'm going to emphasize this more than I ever have. Join the comment section tonight. I want to hear everything y'all have to say about this one because I have a lot of mixed opinions on this trade. So if you're just coming in here now, I see the people are rising. So go ahead and just give comments and let us know what you think on this. So we're gonna get it started. Ja, I'll let you open the floor. What do you think here?
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of sad. I mean, it's the end of an era for Trae Young. He was Atlanta for the last 7 years. He put fans in seats, but as we talked about in 2 days ago episode, his time came to an end when they figured out without him, they're just so much better. The emergence of Jalen Johnson, damn near averaging a triple-double on the season, and they just decided to part ways. Like we also said, him not getting that extension over the summer, it was very telling that, hey, he is probably going to get traded because every player wants to get paid. So what's your thoughts?
I would say the same thing. I think this is honestly, this is an absolute steal of a deal for the Washington
100%.
Wizards. I that's the way that I look at it. I'm still waiting to see if there's any kind of draft compensation with this. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't think there is, but I mean, there's 2 sides of it, right? Obviously, there's Atlanta, there's Washington. What I want to zero on right now is Washington, and then I can circle back to Atlanta later. If you're the Wizards, right, you're a dying franchise sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and your thought is, look, how can we put people in the seats? And this is the perfect move to get people in the seats. And this is a guy who offensively is still ice Trae. Obviously, we know that he has had his defensive struggles and has been, highly criticized. But if I'm looking at this from a Washington Wizards perspective, I think this is a really good start to get your franchise in the right direction. And you essentially didn't give up anything to get him. Corey Kispert, who was one of their draft picks a little while ago, is a good young player, but not really something that's vitally important to Washington's future. And then McCollum, obviously, who came in from New Orleans and is on an expiring contract, now gets the chance to go to Atlanta and be able to contribute immediately. So hats off to Washington on this one. Truly, this is a great trade for them.
No, 100%. Like you said, they got an all-star, a guy who's averaged 24, 9, and 3 for his career. I mean, those are great numbers, and you didn't have to give any picks. I think what's important to realize, though, I mean, you said box office, put in seats. I agree with that, but not for this year. I think this is more because they still have because they kind of went on a little winning streak over the past month, and if their pick ends up being over top 8, so if it's top 8 or more, then they have to give it to the Knicks. So they'll probably end up being like a Brandon Ingram situation from Toronto last year, where the trade is for next year. You know what I mean? They still try to get a top 8 pick, and then they have Trae Young, and they have this young nucleus of guys, and then we'll go from there. It's pretty shocking, though. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's like Trae Young got traded for C.J. McCollum, was on the verge of getting bought out earlier this year. So
yeah, I know. Let me read some of what Shams just posted.
I could bring it up too.
He posted a lot regarding this deal that I thought was really interesting. So let's see here. So the trade ends. Young's stint as the face of the Hawks. He gets to go to his preferred destination. Wizards officials have searched to anchor their young talent. Um, this move provides Atlanta with financial flexibility to pursue a large salary over the next several months with Anthony Davis as a prime in-season target. That's obviously an interesting storyline that we'll have to continue to watch develop. Um, Hawks are poised to turn the page on a new era with the emergence of Jalen Johnson, bringing a much more fluid style of play around their wings and depth. McCollum serves as a valuable plug-and-play veteran with a $30.6 million expiring
It's gonna
deal.
be massive.
Massive. My goodness. Yeah. It's crazy how quickly this came together. And then I know you and I talked about an hour before this went down, and you and I kind of both had an idea that this might happen tonight.
Right.
So this is crazy. Um, let's talk Atlanta. What are your thoughts on this for Atlanta?
I absolutely love this deal for Atlanta.
Okay.
One, you have $30 million in expiring salary that you could use on any free agent going into next summer. I think last pod I hinted at like a Kobe White deal, or maybe if they do going for that all in trade of like a Anthony Davis or ex superstar, they can end up extending that player.
Mm-hmm.
I love Corey Kisper. I always have. I thought you got kind of thrown out the rotation over the past couple of years in Washington. Hasn't lived up to his like pre-draft hype, but I still think he's a good shooter. And then when you have Jalen Johnson, I mean, you're just adding another shooter. You have Kennard still. You have you have Dyson Daniels, who's shot 7 for 56 on threes this year. Just his 3-point shooting has completely regressed. And so you're just bringing more shooting in, and you surrounding this wing guy that is averaging almost triple double with more shooting. CJ McCollum's a good veteran guard come playoff time. If they end up making it, he can come off the bench and do what he needs to do. But I think this is going to be huge for a
Mm-hmm.
guy who they signed in the offseason who was coming off the bench, and now he gets the full-time job. So if you're him, you're thrilled. You get the money and you get the starting position.
Yeah. I don't dislike the players they got in the trade. Like I said, McCollum is a guy who can come in and contribute day one. Kispert is a guy who can bring them more shooting offensively. I think it's going to add to kind of what they're trying to do. And obviously, we know when Trae returned from injury, I think they started like 0 of 6, like, 0 and 6 with him in the lineup. So, obviously, there was a lot of problems defensively, which I mentioned. My only question here is this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're dealing with a Washington Wizards team that has a lot of draft capital. There was no way to even get a single pick out of this trade for them.
If you're who?
If you're Atlanta, I mean, instantly when I looked at this, it's like, yes, we know that Trae Young has his defensive struggles, but at the end of the day, like, this is a 4-time All-Star we're talking about. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
the
So it's like,
Wizards getting a pick from Atlanta.
no, I mean Atlanta getting a pick in return for Trae Young.
Oh, interesting.
Because yeah, one of the things that a lot of people are saying is like, where's the draft picks? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know if you could fetch a decent first for him, but maybe a few seconds. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, picks are being thrown around in trades in the NBA like it's candy. So that was
yeah.
the one thing I noticed. I'm like, there wasn't any pick compensation for a 4-time All Star. That's my only pause for Atlanta here. Other than that, I thought the players that they got are good fits. I did
Yeah,
mention yesterday on our pod that McCollum, we both talked about that, how like McCollum will be a good piece to go help a team contend.
yeah.
I don't think this is the end for Atlanta. I think there's going to be more coming for them. And like we said yesterday, this is going to be a team that will dictate the trade deadline. So it's going to be very interesting to see where they move from here.
No, yeah, 100%. I think maybe because, like, I think if a first was on the table for Trae, I think that a deal gets done before this. I just think his value had been so dissipated by all the above that, like, they just wanted to get rid of him. And I know it's reported that Trae Young's top preference was Washington. Well, newsflash, it was his only option, really. I mean, it was rumored he reached out to Minnesota, he reached out to Brooklyn. They had zero interest, right? So it becomes, and then you start looking around the league. I mean, the hottest commodity each team has is a starting point guard and a starting caliber center. And when you look around the league, not too many teams need a Trae Young. regardless of how many All Stars he has. But I'm with you. Like it sucks. Like his value is this bad, but that's just the reality. I think of it as well. I think he has a chance to really recoup some of his value, and this could be a home run for Washington if he can play a little bit better, and then they flip him for at least maybe a first or a second, like you were saying. That's a win for you, right? So.
Sorry about that. Do you think that this is going to be one of those one and done Westbrook kind of situations, or do you think this is a building block piece?
I think it could go either way. When I look at Washington's roster, they don't have a guy that's a really good distributor. They have a bunch of scorers, guys that can put the ball in the bucket. Um, I love this for guys like was it Keyshawn George or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington. I love this for Alex Sarr, who hasn't really popped completely yet,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
is starting to make his way through. Like he's made big leaps offensively, and then defensively, Alex Sarr is a foundational piece where you could run him and drop, you could switch him. He's one of the few bigs in the league you could run any type of defensive coverage, and he could run it. He might not be the best at one thing, but he's very versatile in that sense for sure.
Yeah, I think looking at Washington's roster, one thing that stands out to me here is you didn't give any of your recent young guys up in this trade, which is huge for me. You kept a guy like Bilal. You still have your guys like Malachi Branham, Bub Carrington,
Mm-hmm.
AJ Johnson. Trae is still there. You didn't give in any of your pieces that you were like, hey, I want to see this guy grow. Corey Kispert has obviously had his time to do so. So it was obvious that Washington didn't view him as a lock to stay on the roster. And so when Atlanta showed interest, I mean, that made it very easy for them. I think the thing, and also you still have, obviously, now that McCollum is gone, Chris Middleton is still there. He is on an expiring as well, correct?
Yeah, Chris Middleton, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he gets moved before the deadline. Marvin Bagley the third, who's been playing very well, is still there as well. And then obviously Alex Sarr, who has really emerged. I think he's averaging 2.4 blocks a game. And then Keyshawn George, who has also been lighting it up as of recently. We got a comment right here from Drew Tube. He says, no compensation at all for Atlanta. I feel like they lost, which was they feel like they lost was a score, which CJ could be that for them. Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about. That it is surprising. I mean, I think Ja, you and I could both agree on this. Like, if this trade was done 3 or 4 years ago, I
Mm-hmm.
think Trae goes for multiple first round picks and multiple solid players.
Yeah.
But you know, as unfortunate as it is, there's been a decline in the ATL, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very interested to see how McCollum plays day one. One interesting note here that Bobby posted was that McCollum has started 88% of the games he's played since 2013. That's
Yeah.
availability, and that's something Atlanta needs desperately if they want to try to make a run this season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. The compensation part, yeah, like the fact that CJ McCollum's $30 million expiring is kind of looked at in value as in itself for a
Mm-hmm.
player like Trae Young kind of just tells you like how steep Trae Young's value really took. And it
Yeah.
sucks for Atlanta. It's one of those situations they probably held on to him for too long. But I mean, I love Jalen Johnson. I didn't see this coming into this season. And thank God Atlanta didn't extend Trae over the summer because then they would have been definitely stuck with him for the coming
Yeah.
years. So
No, for sure.
I love CJ for them. I'm honestly on the side of it's a win-win trade right now.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
something I kind of notice all GMs are getting really good at trading. There's not too
Mm-hmm.
many one-sided trades anymore where you're like, whoa, like what happened besides last year's? And then like you kind of look at like one that they thought was super one-sided was that Caruso for Giddy trade, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Giddy just got
Caruso
extended.
Giddy just got extended. Like Giddy wasn't good for the Thunder, but Giddy has been a significant value for the Bulls.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like
Yeah.
just looking at trades, And like I said, I think GMs are just getting better at these types of trades. And if you're Atlanta, you're like, hey, I still have all my draft picks. I have the Pelicans' very valued pick, slash Bucks pick, and I could go get a X player. I could go get this player. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they could still have a couple moves in them if they really want to go in this season because the East
Yeah.
is all jumbled up at the
Oh, it
top.
is. Yeah. Drew too, thanks for the comment, bro. And one interesting thing to note, and because like this transaction occurred, like, I don't think this would happen, but like if they wanted to reroute McCollum, they couldn't unless they expanded this current deal.
Yeah,
Because then there's the 60-day period, and that would pass February 5th.
yeah,
So, unless something else pops out of this, CJ is there to stay along with Corey Kispert. So, now I think all eyes will focus on, okay, like what is their next move. And
right.
um, there have been so many rumors on guys that they would be willing to go get. Now it's just a matter of saying, hey, look, do we want to go out and try to get a star to quote unquote complete this roster and go try and compete for a championship this year?
Yeah.
Or do they view this as like a reload? Hey, let's visit this back in the summer. It'll be interesting to see what this next month looks like for them.
No, yeah. I agree with you. And it's not like this trade was holding up the trade market, but
No,
maybe a
not at
trade
all.
like this kind of gets GMs awake and they're like, "Hey, okay, it's trade season. Like maybe we
Yeah.
start seeing some other dominoes fall. Maybe this isn't it like you said for Atlanta. They could go and make a splasher move or make a bigger move." And I mean, this is huge for Washington because you're in a situation now, hey, I have $80 million in cap space going into the summer. And it's like, what are you going to do with $80 million in cap space? Nobody's going to
Hmm.
come to Washington on a huge deal next year unless you have a little bit more culture like established. Plus, they can't be too good this year because they can't give that pickup to New York. So,
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Brett Siegel. He said while the Wizards had hoped to receive, okay, so the Wizard had hoped to receive second round picks from the Hawks in this trade. Atlanta
interesting.
wanted a first round pick in return. Washington didn't initially want to trade Corey Kispert, but his involvement in the deal evened it from both teams' perspectives. So yeah, I guess if Corey isn't in this deal, then we probably would have seen a pick thrown out
Okay. That
because
makes sense.
Washington valued him a little bit more than we initially thought.
I wonder if
Man,
Washington or if Atlanta, if this deal could get opened up a little bit. I mean, like they have Kennard, but I wonder, like, if they want to keep Kispert, maybe flip him for that draft capital. Maybe they were seeking from a Trae Young deal. Because I could see Kispert going for like 2 seconds. I don't think that would
yeah,
be crazy to say, but or maybe CJ McCollum's really upped his value and you get like an offer on a $30 million expiring, which I don't think they're going to trade CJ at all. But
no, yeah. It feels like a good fit because, like, CJ McCollum's a solid point guard. I mean, like, he can still get it from anywhere. I mean, let's look at the statistics from this year alone. He's averaging 9.2 points a game, 2 and 3 on 2 and 1 on the rebounds and assists. Shoots 39.5 from three, not, glaring, but still a really solid number. 49.6 from the floor. From his career, he shoots 38.3. So, if anything, he'll provide Atlanta what we just talked about, right? Like solid shooting. So I think that's a thing that, a lot of teams look at the deadline and say, hey, we were talking about this yesterday, right? Like, hey, let's go bring in a shooter to
right.
complement the guys that we have. So, I think that he can serve that role really well.
No, 100%. 100. I'm just trying to bring up the standings real quick
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, if
because
you guys have any thoughts, comment.
Atlanta is not too far away
No, they're not at all.
from not even being a playing team. So they're about 4 games behind Cleveland. Oh, I don't think they get past out of the play-in, honestly,
Like,
unless they go on a crazy run.
what if after the deadline they go on a run?
I could
I
see
mean, I can't
that, like,
see
because
it. Let me
Orlando's
see.
struggling without Franz, and now without Jalen Suggs, and
Okay.
Paulo hasn't been playing good. But like, I don't see them. I mean, they got to go on a crazy run
So
because
you're at
they,
17 and 21, and
yeah,
Cleveland's at 21 and 17. So
right.
they're essentially they're 4 games back. So it's not a terrible gap, but like you're I think now that Trae's gone, they're probably going to start winning a few more games now that that distraction's out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they could 100%. What is Philly is 20 and 15, right?
Yeah.
No, 20. Okay, yeah. Like realistically, they could climb into the top six if they went on an insane run after February 5th, assuming it doesn't get much worse than this. Because a 4 game gap is not terrible.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you win a few, lose a few. You're right there. Um, and then, yeah, obviously Chicago, Miami, and Orlando. I'm surprised Orlando's that low. Um, you could jump into the top six, but not with this current roster. They'd have to make one more deal for me to be convinced.
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta would. If
Yeah.
in order
Yeah.
for Atlanta to make a run, you got to make one more deal. I think you're still going to hover around the play-in
Yeah.
with this
I,
team as
I
currently
think if
constructed.
I'm them, I try to get into that 7-8 matchup that you have two
Yes,
chances of,
full
getting
fully agree.
in. But like, yeah, you're right. I mean, they're not that far. They're 2-8 in their last 10, which is a big reason why this Trae Young deal came up. And
Hmm.
so yeah. Oh, we got another comment from King Lathan. He said, "Do you think this trade was the ceiling for Trae? I know the value dropped significantly, but I'm honestly surprised it came to this low." Yeah, you want to take it or you want me to?
Like, but by ceiling, does he mean like value or does he mean like play style?
Value probably.
Um, No, I don't. I think I brought this up earlier, but like, I think if this trade was 3 to 4 years ago, this would have
Hmm.
been one of those blockbuster deals. But unfortunately, just due to the lack of success they've had and also the inability for them to get right defensively with him on the floor,
Yeah,
Atlanta looked at this situation as a like, look, if he wants to be traded, we're going to trade him where he wants to go, and we're just going to get some players in return. We also mentioned that if Kispert wasn't in this trade, there also would have been a first round pick involved as well. So I think in other terms, this could have been a much bigger trade, but just according to the timing, it's just off. Like if Trae requested a trade this summer, I think the value would have even been higher. Um, I think, the value is just all jumbled. Now, as far as like play style, I think Trae Young is still Trae Young. I think he can go out there and still be that guy, but
hmm,
he's got to find answers defensively. I don't know what that's going to look like, but there has got to be some kind of answer defensively for him to have any kind of success with any team that he's on for the rest of his career. So that'll be something to
yeah.
watch for, and I'll turn it over to you with that.
No, yeah. I mean, his value did drop significantly. I don't know if he gets traded this summer, what the deal would be. I still probably don't think they get a first because I think they would have traded him this summer if his value was a first. Um, But at the same time, like it kind of sucks. Like we talk about how Minnesota needs a point guard. We talk about Houston needs a point guard. Like Brooklyn they don't need a point guard, but they don't have somebody that's Trae's caliber. So when you look at this from a Washington's perspective, it's hey, we're not going to do that good this year. We still got to owe that pick to New York. But building the next year, we just got a guy with without a first round pick or a second round pick that could go average 23 and 10 for us and build something. I don't think Trae's that guy that could win you a championship. I just don't think you can win with somebody that small. He's about 6'1", and what made him
Yeah,
so prolific in the past, like during that playoff run against Philly, when he goes to the conference finals against the Bucks, is that he was this elite shooter. His shooting is plummeted. I don't think a lot of people have realized that
yeah,
significantly, and he's not this 41% shooter with a high volume. He's like it's taken a significant hit. His playmaking is by far his best attribute. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't play defense. So when you like go down the category, ceiling for his like when he starts to repair his value, he probably ends up like if he wants to be on a championship team, I think he's probably the sixth man. On a
mm,
championship team, I don't think he could be your
wow,
starting point guard to win a championship, and that has nothing to do. Well, it has something to do with his skill, but it also just his size. like we see around the league how you win.
Yeah,
Athletic wings
fortunate.
that could 3 and D, and he can't. He doesn't have the 3 right now. He just is a playmaker, so kind of sucks.
Yeah, looking at the stat this year, he's averaging 19.3 a game, and like you said, shooting plummets to an unbelievable 30% from three. So that's really disheartening to read. But
He's at what
um,
from 3?
yeah, I let me pull this up again. I swear it said 30.
Yeah, no, I knew it's plummeted a lot when I last looked.
I
I
think
just wasn't sure
he also
100%.
hasn't uh he also hasn't played a ton of games this year. Where did it go, bro? His splits, his shooting, 23. Let's go to 25 and 26. Okay, so yeah, this season he's shooting 30% from three, 18 of 59 attempts.
Wow.
That's has he been hurt a lot? I know he was hurt for a little bit.
Yeah,
He's
I
only
mean
taken 59 threes.
yeah, he was hurt. He got hurt very early on the season. He was out for about 4 to 6 weeks,
Dang.
and then he got hurt again for a couple games, and then it was the trade request. So he hasn't played a lot of basketball this year, um, at all. But I mean, that's what kind of hurt him. Him getting hurt, and then Hawks go on this, 7-game win streak, and it's like, oh, Jalen Johnson could do the playmaking that Trae could do, with also
Yeah.
being this
Yeah.
positive on offense. Because if you look at the numbers with any lineup he's in, they're a negative plus minus.
Yeah.
Anytime he's off the floor, they're all plus. So
Yeah.
kind of sucks.
King Latham, thank you for the comment. Go subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't already, brother. So I think one more thing to note, we have a posted Bobby did his big board for the Hawks right now. So currently they're at 195.9 million. They're at the first apron. You added Kispert to your reserve rotation, and their projected starting five would be McCollum, Daniels, Rishishe, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. He's got KP listed in the reserves
Mhm.
for now. I would expect Porzingis is a name that gets dealt at the deadline for sure.
He's another
Um,
$30 million expiring.
yeah, think about it. They've got KP's expiring and now McCollum. That is
So
crazy.
low key, then why would they try to trade KP's salary? Then you could go into the summer. How much cap space would they have going into the summer if they kept both of them on these expiring deals?
It's a good question. Um,
Because that's not bad,
so if it
honestly.
expires, it goes off the books, correct?
Yeah.
So you're gaining essentially 60 million in cap space.
No, because it's some weird rule because they're already past the first apron.
Yeah, because there's limitations.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I think you could roll with it,
But they
but
would have at least, I think, $30 million. Not to cut you off. I think they would have
no,
$30
yeah.
million in cap space at least.
Here's the thing though, when you look at Porzingis' contract, other teams are going to find that valuable. So if they
Mm-hmm.
want to go star hunting, that's a guy that they can dangle and say, okay, hey, we got the 30 million expiring contract. If you want to put this on your team, but we'll take so and so star player to make us better. I think that's the way that I view it. But I also like what you're saying too.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, Shams did just
Oh,
report, huh?
one more. Sorry. They're not at the first apron. They are 14 million under. They're at
Oh, so that's
181 right now.
huge, bro.
Yes.
They can go. They could essentially have $60 million in cap
Yes.
space
Yeah.
going
Wizards
into
are
the
at
summer.
158. So they're doing good. Okay, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say one of the things that Shams tweeted in that thing was the financial flexibility to pursue a larger salary, and they did say Anthony Davis is their prime target, and that goes with everything from Mark Stein and Brett Siegel and
Yep.
uh, Jake Weinbach have been talking about over the past couple. So that's just interesting that you would
Yeah.
immediately say his name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't normally see that from news outlets, so I that is very interesting. But when you flip that to the Dallas side, it's like you got to be smart there too, right? Because it's like
Hmm.
they're not just going to give Anthony Davis away. So it's like
No, and they shouldn't.
very, it'll be very interesting to see how that develops. Like because like I say star players, but like you know, AD's obviously the prime target. They've made that clear, but like, what else? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there
Yeah,
any other guys that they'd be willing to pursue to kind of fit that number? So it feels like they're zeroed in on him. So that'll be a
yeah.
storyline to watch.
Yeah, I mean, and
Man,
it's still we're. I mean, I know we're a little under a month away from the trade deadline, but this time last year, we didn't know Luka would get traded. We didn't know De'Aaron Fox would get traded. We didn't know Jimmy Butler would get traded. So there is time for X star request to trade out, depending on how that team's doing. So
yes,
I do love this trade for the Wizards for Keyshawn, Trey Johnson, and Alex Sarr. Like Trey's gonna be
it's an
able to
excellent trade.
facilitate the ball. Trey Johnson, his comp coming in was like a Milwaukee Ray Allen type archetype. He just guys flat out shoot the ball. Um, for I got a question for you. For Atlanta side, do you start CJ?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think unless you're playing a lineup that goes big, you gotta put a point guard on the floor to facilitate. And the one thing about CJ McCollum is he still has the ability to get to his spots, pick his poison, and drop 30 if he so well chooses.
Yeah.
Um, I I've always been high on McCollum. He's been one of my favorite guys to watch ever since he was, I mean, at Portland and all that stuff. So, I think you start him, but I mean, since you asked the question, what is your alternative? I'm interested to hear that.
Uh, just going super defensive sided and just start
Okay.
Nikhil Alexander Walker. And kind of have Jalen Johnson run that
Yeah.
like Giannis role as like a point center.
Okay. I'm listening. Yeah.
And I don't I don't hate it because even if you start Nikhil Alexander Walker, he's not like this guy that's gonna average like 10 assists by any means, but I think he has a little bit
Mm.
more playmaking paralysis than CJ. But I feel like maybe you can't go wrong with either. A little bit
No,
more
you can't.
offense with CJ. Maybe it's more of a 3-point threat, but they're in a good
Okay.
position.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I mean, McCollum's only 34 years old. I mean, you could be doing a lot worse, and he's been available. I think that's really the biggest thing. He's been available. Let me pull up his statistics sheet from this year just to see like what we're dealing with here. So this season, we've got he's averaging 18, almost 19, 3 and 3, shooting 39.3% from the field and 45 from the field. I mean, like you're getting an 18 point. I mean, you're
Yeah.
getting a 19 points a game guy. I mean, in place of Trae Young, which hasn't been working, I'd say that's a hats off kind of move for Atlanta for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this trade for both sides. I am curious what this leaves for Washington. Like they still have Chris Middleton. They
Hmm.
still that's a popular buyout guy, but other than that like I think they just got to stay the course, keep building this foundation. I'm curious to see how many games Trae Young ends up playing in the end of this season just because I really see it like a Brandon Ingram, a De'Aaron Fox gets traded last year, and they play like maybe 5 or 6 games and it gets shut down or has an
Mm.
injury to protect that pick. But I like
Mm.
what they. I like the trade for both sides. I'm a little
I do. Yeah.
concerned. Like if Atlanta doesn't do anything else and this is it,
Oh, I'd be
I I
concerned.
I
Yeah.
think I'd be a little concerned on how if they can even make the playoffs this year because Milwaukee's right behind them, and Milwaukee finally has Giannis back and I think they play tonight, so
Yeah. This is 100% a move that puts them in a position to go star hunting. That's the way that I view it. And it could be obviously the name we mentioned, and then it could be someone else that pops up at the deadline because like we said yesterday, Trae Young was not a name that we thought was going to get traded until a few days ago. Obviously, we heard like various, like NBA Centel rumors, but it's like, it wasn't anything that was like set in stone. and then within a matter of days, Trae Young formally almost requests a trade, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of players too down at the deadline just be like, you know what, I want to get traded. So there could be other people that will ask out, and so it'll be. I'm very intrigued to see what happens now because I feel like this is it's gonna be an interesting deadline for sure.
Do you think? So what's their starting lineup now? So we go CJ, Dyson,
Yeah.
Jalen's, Ricochet, Okongwu.
Yes, Jalen, I believe at the 4.
Okay, interesting.
Nuts. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I like Okongwu, but I think he lacks a little size to be your starting caliber center. But other than that, he's improved a lot this year, especially from the 3-point shot.
Yeah, I believe so too. But what else? What else should we cover?
Um,
Anybody else got any comments, thoughts?
I don't think so.
Yeah, if we don't have anything else,
Yeah, it's pretty cut and dry trade.
yeah, it is.
It's not blockbuster, definitely not, but it is a trade where somebody, it was the longest tenured Hawk, and he'll be missed. He had many playoff moments in Madison Square Garden
Mm-hmm.
and all that, and yeah,
Doing
end of
the
an
doing the
era.
best on the floor. Yeah, so we will go ahead and put a couple surveys up on our Twitter page. You guys can go ahead and respond to those, kind of like who won this trade, kind of your thoughts. So we'll put those up for you guys to engage in. If you have any other thoughts or comments, we'll leave a place on our Twitter for you to put those. And also, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. Follow us on our socials, also Insta and Twitter or X. And we're just going to keep this thing going. This is only the beginning of a really hectic month.
No, yeah, for sure. And each trade, depending on when they drop, we'll try to go live for each one of them. And stay tuned, everybody.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Thank you, guys. Peace and stay safe.
Have a good one.